Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're reacting to episode 13 of series 1 of Vinland Saga. I'm trying to keep my intros as short as possible, so if you've noticed that I haven't been speaking as much in my intros, I do apologize. It is because I don't want to be off-putting to people, so unless I have something really, really important to say, I'm really only going to use my intros as kind of like a recap point and then launching into the episode itself and then trying to keep the discussion slightly longer. I think that might be for the best because I don't think everyone enjoys a super long intro if it's not relevant, but hey, it is what it is. Also, on a good note, my mortgage offer got approved, so I am officially going to be buying my house, which I am super, super excited about. So this is great news. I won't be renting anymore. I will have my own house. I will be paying a mortgage. I will be doing big girl things, which is scary. But I just found out the news today, so I'm really, really happy. So I am sharing that with you all. So yeah, last episode we saw an ambush about to happen. There was also some curious wonderings as to whether Askeladd could be part Welsh, just because he seems to have a very strong connection, affiliation with them. Also uses his mom's name, which makes me think he may be related to the Welsh via his mother. We also saw that they are passing through, but they're about to be ambushed. As to why, we don't know. It could just be a border raid. It could just be a skirmish between competing kingdoms, or they could have been motivated by someone to target them. But we're going to see Thorfinn in action. We're going to see probably more of Canute, but he's a very quirky, interesting fella. But he doesn't really have much of a backbone. I'm wondering if they're starting him off as like this weak, pampered character, but is going to be someone that really comes into their own as the series progresses, that will maybe grow to love them and their strength and admire them for their intellect and courage. But as of right now, it's very like, cool, you have emotional distress and you aren't really doing anything, and you are asking Ragnar to speak for you, and yet you want people to back you to be king. Okay, we're not going to ramble though. We're going to get straight into episode 13, and I can't wait to see more of Thorfinn, my little baby, and hopefully we get to see more of Thorkill because he has become sort of my highlight character at the minute. I love when he comes on screen, so I'm hoping to get to see more of him this episode.
母、もうすぐ死ぬ。
Is this
故
Askeladd?
郷帰りたい。言った。連れてきた。
Oh. So that confirms that his mother is Welsh then. She wanted to return to her homeland before she died. So was his mom a slave? Was she stolen away and forced to live elsewhere, or did she run away for love? I have a feeling that maybe her departure wasn't voluntary, but the fact that Askeladd brought her back and honored her dying wish shows just how much he loves and admires his mom. Askeladd grows on me. I really like Askeladd. I don't know why, but I do. He's just such a compellingly written character. He's complicated, and I love me a complicated man. I loved Eren and his complexities, so anyone that has depth to them, I'm going to be all over that. I was very confused at first, so I was like, huh?
我が軍主力はウェセックスにて抵抗勢力を撃破。同地の制圧も時間の問題かと思われます。
You don't really. That's the thing.
クヌートだ。あれは今どこに？
クヌート殿下率いる包囲軍はトロケルの一団に撃破された後、消息が途絶えております。
He's out and about. He's in Wales.
その安否につきましては今のところ。
世の大事な息子だ。状況が分かり次第すぐに伝えよ。
If he was your dear son, you wouldn't have left him in London where it wasn't safe for him to be.
そう。
落ち着け野郎ども。いいか、放射するんじゃねえぞ。絶対に手を出すな。
ほう、我らの言葉を話すか万人よ。貴様らデーン人は言葉の通じぬ
He's not just a Dane though, is he? He's half of you.
朝、私はウェールズ諸王国全体の行く末をおもんぱかるあなたを尊敬している。デーンの王子とどんな約束を交わすというのだ。
To leave Wales alone. That's what he's trying to establish.
あの野郎。
They're like, I don't understand what's going on.
戦にはならねえよ。
I love how, like, Bjorn's really mellowed out as the series has gone on.
死人が出てたはずだぜ。まあ、はったり聞かせて。
He was like a madman maniac and has begun to really even out.
この10年で3度、かの国と休戦協定を結び、それらをことごとく破ってきた。
Oh, they think the Danes are only going to agree with them for the sake of it.
すまんな。
They think that the Danes' words don't mean anything because they've entered into free ceasefire agreements and then violated them. Like, I wouldn't trust them either. I'd be like,
草もハメの時代です。彼らに同情しますよ。茶番がやりたいなら少し付き合ってやるのも一興かと。
play them at their bluff or give them Canute. Canute's like, ah, shit.
こちらにおわすお方こそデンマーク国王スベン陛下のご子息クヌート殿下である。
You're gonna make him swear his loyalty.
かしこまって聞くがよい。
Oh, he's so anxious. Maybe he's just a really anxious boy.
あの無礼者どもに不快感を表明してやってくだ
I
さい。
mean, he is young. I'd be
あなた
anxious
が言えば
too.
奴ら金玉縮みやがって道を譲るでしょう。あ、殿下。
Popin's like, fuck's sake, get it together.
お嫌いなのだ。ここはわしが。なりません、ラグナル殿。
It's not your position. You can't mollycoddle him. He needs to step into his own.
今この場にいるすべての者が王子殿下の御ために動いているのですよ。
Askeladd is correct.
優しい方なのだ。
So
無用の争いを好まれぬ。
he can be gentle and lead his
に
people.
ならねえように場を収めてくれっつってんでしょうが。貴様らに殿下の何がわかる。王宮は親子兄弟が相食らう狐の巣だ。病がちだった殿下がその中を生き延びるのにどれほど苦労なさったか。お心を殺し、息を殺し、目立たぬようにして今日までやってこられたのだ。
But at some point, he has to stand up for himself. I understand that it's a trauma response, but he can't lead if he doesn't strike respect into the hearts of the people that follow him. That's the issue. A weak prince breeds a weak king. So this is the thing. I'm not at all blasting the trauma. It must be incredibly hard to see everyone turn on each other in their grasp for power, and that you've learned that it's best to hide away, to say nothing, to not speak up for fear of being used or killed for having an opinion, for making yourself known. It is very much a sign of a traumatized child that you say nothing. You're anxious to have a voice because you're worried about how your words could either lead to your death or could lead to you being used for their benefit and their gain. So he relies on Ragnar because Ragnar is the only one that he can trust. But at the same time, he is expected to lead these people. He is expected to become a king one day. And if he doesn't start using his voice and establishing his independence and power, he's never going to be a king that people respect. And weak kings are very quickly overthrown. That's the problem. Askeladd may seem harsh in what he's trying to do, but what he is doing could be what saves Canute in the long run. This could be the very thing that protects Canute from being overthrown, from being killed by people that don't see him as a king worthy of their respect because they see him as weak. it's going to help him rather than hinder him. Whereas Ragnar, I understand that he wants to protect him, that he knows what the prince has gone through. He wants to guide him and look out for him and ensure that he doesn't go through any further emotional distress. But he is weakening him in the long run. How long can this protect him for? Because the older he gets, the more of a target he becomes, the more he's expected to stand up, the more he's expected to rally these men behind his name. And if he cannot do that, he will be challenged and he will be killed. Askeladd is harsh, but he's teaching him a lesson that could very much make the difference between life and death. So hopefully Canute takes it on board and stands up and says something, because it's going to avoid unnecessary fighting. But Askeladd is correct here. I have to completely side with him. Again, I can empathize with what Canute has gone through, but in this historical time frame, to be a weak prince is to court death, essentially. So Canute needs to get his act together, because he's not the only person that's been traumatized. Look at Thorfinn. Look at everything that Thorfinn's gone through, and Thorfinn has had to fight to survive. I know it's two different forms of trauma response. You have Canute, who's had to be quiet to survive, and Thorfinn, who's had to fight to survive. They are very much two sides of the same coin. Two traumatized children who have turned out very differently from one another because of the circumstances in which they've been thrust into. But if Thorfinn can gain respect as a warrior and stand up and be independent, then it's something Canute can also do. It's just finding a way to do so. And abhorring violence doesn't make you weak, so long as you are willing to be authoritative and crack down on anyone that is a threat to your people. You don't have to participate in the violence. You don't even have to revel in it, but you still have to lay down the law. You have to speak up. You have to have a voice, and you have to garner the respect of the people behind you, because if they don't respect you, they will collaborate in your downfall. So he can be a benevolent king. There have been numerous benevolent kings who were respected for being wise, kind, just, fair, gentle, but still didn't tolerate any shit towards them or their people. As Thor said, not all warriors need a sword. You can be a warrior of the mind. You can use your words as your weapon. Askeladd is very good at doing that. Askeladd is a trained soldier as well, but Askeladd is very good at weaponizing his words to get what he wants. He's very clever that way, and that's something I think Canute can learn from him. So again, you don't have to like violence to be a strong king. There's other ways to do it. So hopefully Canute takes it on board. I hope so.
彼らに計画を伝えます。
よかろう。私も行こう。
I'm still sad that Askeladd's horse died,
奴らの
though.
大将と話つけてくっからよ。
There's been a lot of horses dying in this show, and it makes me really sad.
お言葉ごもっともです。殿下の恩義を案ずるあまり、つい出過ぎたことを申しました。殿下もどうかご容赦くださいませ。
Thorfinn's like,
だっせ。お前本当に俺とタメか。
for fuck's sake. It's probably not the first time he's heard that. He's just gentle and an anxious boy. But I think him being associated with Thorfinn may be good for him. Thank you. I said that. He's weakening Canute instead of strengthening him. Canute relies on him too much. That's part of the problem. He's never had to be self-sufficient. I've joined the Bang crew.
我が王家の恥だ。もっとだ。その5倍離れろ。他の者にも伝えろ。
Go.
事情はわからんでもないが、困るんだよね、実際。 書簡で突然領内の通行許可と兵糧を求められてもね。
Is this all for
二つ
show?
返事はできないんだ
They
よ。
have to make like a
弱
point
小
of
といえ
their
ど
power.
対面ってものがあるからね。我が王家にも
There has to be some benefit.
下の者たちに王が100人程度の田園人
And
に
it
ビビ
makes
っ
their
てい
king
ると
look
思われ
weak.
かねん。
All
確かにな
smart.
我々の要求するまま答えていてはあなた方も格好がつかん。
見返りについて証述しないのは機密保持のためと記したはずだが。
ええ、読みました。
俺の提示する見返りの内容によっちゃ戦闘になることもあり得るかね。朝
デンマーク王を怒らせようものならこんな小国などひとたまりもないのはよくわかってる。
ウェールズの言葉を話せるなんて知らなかった。
There's a lot you probably don't know about him. I knew he was Welsh or part Welsh. Yeah, but his mum was Welsh, so he probably learnt the language and the culture from her.
十何年も一緒にやってきて何も話はしね
なんだ拗ねてんのかでけえ図でして。
え。うるせえな。
They're
喧嘩なら買うぞ。
besties.
まあまあ落ち
He's
着けよ。
just sad that
い
he
いじゃねえ
doesn't
か。
feel like Askeladd
あいつ
can
は
trust
いい城
him.
だ。心情がどうでも俺はついてくぜ。
Oh? Why aren't we privy to that
にわかには
information?
信じがたい。
直系のリディア
Oh,
様の子
okay.
だ。このアシェラッドには我らローマンケルトの偉大なる指導者の血が受け継がれた。
Oh, see, I did wonder if his mum had some respect given to her name because he used his mum's
そ
name.
の際リディアを愛称としてさらった。
I was right!
生まれたのが俺だ。
And that's why she
古
wanted to
ブリタ
return
ニアの
because it
軍
wasn't
神
her
の血脈は
homeland.
絶えたと聞いていた。アルトリウス公の子孫だと。
アルトリウス
Oh!
5世紀から6世紀にかけて活躍した
So the figure that is the
516
basis for the legend of Arthur.
信仰著しい
He's
サクソン人
the
後のイングランド人の
descendant
軍勢を
of
ベイドンヒルの戦いにおいて打ち破り後世に語り継がれアーサー王伝説の原型になったとされる人物である
which we talked about in the previous episode. I've jumped the gun, haven't
貴
I?
殿の話。信ずるに足る証はあるか。
私だ。
He's a witness.
14歳の時、リディア様と共にウェールズを訪れ、初めて私と会った。
I knew his mum had to have some authority because he always refers to his dad's name up until that point where he referred to Lydia.
長いこと親父の寝室で飼われ、病を得てからは馬小屋で飼われていた。
Oh, that's
おいた
awful.
わしい。それにしても、
But he must have really loved and
偉大なる
admired
血
his
統最後の一人は
mum
田園人との根血とは。
to have
そこだよ、アッサー
thought
殿
to brought her back.
根
To
血
brought her back, to
だ
bring
か
her
らこ
back
そ
to Wales.
俺はデーン人に溶け込んでいる。あのボンボンを次のデンマーク王に仕立て上げれば、俺も国政の要職につける。
He can ensure Wales's safety and independence
条約を結ばせることすらできる。
because Wales means a lot to him, right? Because of his mum.
奴らにはこの地一歩も踏み入れさせない。
So his loyalties has never been to Denmark because I imagine he abhors his father to some extent. His loyalties to his mother's country.
田園人の中で生まれ育った貴殿だ。田園の血よりアルトリウス公の血が常
Yeah.
に勝ると言い切
Of
れるか
course
ね
it is. Why would he have brought his mother back to Wales at 14 if he felt such
その
loyalty
辺は
and
信
tie
じ
to
て
the
もらうしかない
Danes?
な。俺はデーン人が嫌いだ。
Interesting. Just when I thought I couldn't like him more, he becomes even more of a fascinating character to me.
を手放すなどありえぬ。この国を通行する間、連中の捕虜になったふりをするだけです。国境で追放されるとき、
Thorfinn looks so bored. He's like, I wanted a fight
不思議でならん。なぜ貴様の部下は命令に
because
ホイ
he
ホイ従う
commands
のだ。
respect. That's why, Ragnar.
すごいでしょう。これでも結構部下に信頼されてるんです。おいトロフィー、お前もだ。
ざけんなハゲ。
信頼か。こいつは別です。クソガキめ。
勘違いするなとんがり。
うん？
俺はこのハゲの部下じゃね
He's biding his time. His wayward adopted son that will one day be his downfall. I do love their dynamic. It's just so complicated, but it's quite endearing too.
アッサー様が捕らえなすったらしいぞ。
I love that they're willing to do this in order to pass through, but also not undermine this king either. This king has to look powerful.
アッサー様だな。石投げてみるか。やめろバカ。珍獣扱いか俺ら。
That's how you treat them, though.
食うぞこら。
What's wrong, Canute? He wants to say something
見て
to.
んじゃねえよ、お姫様。言いてえことはてめえの口で言えや。舌がねえのか。あ
You're gonna have to bite back at some point. I think he's not gonna be able to take it, and he's gonna bite back.
臆病で喋らないわけじゃないんだ。慎重なんだ。
Is this the most he's ever heard him speak?
僕は王子だ。そなたた
His
ちと違う
words carry
のだ。
weight and authority in a way that
僕の発言には
Yeah.
政治的な意味が生じるのだ。
that forefins don't.
異国においてはなおさらだ。父王陛下のお許しもなく、不可侵条約だの、不快感の表明だの、できるわけがない。
Go, Canute! Well done! Oh,
僕は
bless
慎重な
him.
のだ。
そこそこマシな言い訳言うじゃねえか。おつむは足りてるようだな、お姫様。
Stop calling him princess.
この無礼者、今まで僕にこんな態度を取る者などいなかった。
ならいい経験じゃねえか。
発言を取り消せ。
I'm sorry, but forfin's really good
お
for
前などに
Canute.
王族の
He's
苦労
bringing
の
him out
何
of
が
his
わかる。
shell.
わめくんじゃねえよ、座ってろ。
僕は自分の発言の正しさを主張しているだけだ。
はいはい、わかったって。
大体なんだ。
He's like, oh my god, I've never seen this side of
わ
him.
し以外の者と話されるとは。
See, I knew that he would be good for him. He's bringing him out of his shell. We're going to see Canute start to gain a bit more confidence in himself and his abilities. Like, even there, the fact that he trusts himself to write this knowing the political weight really shows the character development that he's going through. I like Canute. He's quirky. He's just an anxious boy.
雪。
アシェラット、もっと早く進めんのか。このままでは雪に降り込め
I
られる
mean,
ぞ。
wonder how Ragnar's gonna take to maybe not being depended on as much. If, like, he's gonna feel
マシア伯領の北
saddened
端を横断し
that
て、そこから
Canute
本
doesn't
陣
need
ゲンズバラ
him
を目指しましょ
as
う。日
much.
誌は早く着く。ウェールズの山の中で雪に降り込められたら、身動きが取れなくなる。
地方領主どもがデンジンに力を貸すとは思えん。
He's not just a Dane, he's Welsh.
野郎ども、
He's the son of Lydia,
ぐずぐずするな。
the descendant of Artorias.
心配すんな。アシュラッドの判断に間違いはねえ。
But they don't know that. I think maybe he doesn't tell them because he worries that they'll not trust him if they don't see him as a full-blood Dane. Because he's passing, really, because he does look like a Dane, he acts like a Dane, he speaks Danish. So he is covertly hiding behind his Danish blood to gain authority, power, and respect. So I think the reason he doesn't tell anyone is because he worries that maybe they'll think lesser of him, that they'll not trust him as much, that they think he would only be speaking and siding with the Welsh for the benefit of the Welsh at the expense of the Danes. So I understand why he's keeping quiet about it. It's a card that he plays as and when he needs to. He doesn't need anyone else to know because they don't need to know. It's on a him to know basis because he can use it to leverage respect from others as and when it's needed. But the Danes may not look at it with the same sort of respect that the Welsh do. And that's because they would look more at the Danish blood rather than the Welsh blood. And Lydia has a name that is renowned and respected, and by extension, so does Askeladd because he is her son. I think it's a very smart tactic to hold that card to your chest, especially because the Danes might see them mixing with the Welsh and Askeladd being half Welsh as potentially reason to suspect him and not trust his word, because his word means everything to his men and they respect him, which is why they follow him and they don't question what he commands. Whereas if they start questioning and they start rebelling, everything starts falling apart. So he needs everything to be in order. Canute and Thorfinn's little dynamic is so cute. I love the little blush on his cheeks and the way that they're acting like brothers, like bickering back and forth. But Thorfinn is good for Canute. Canute is used to people serving him, obeying him, but also only really depending on Ragnar. He doesn't really have anyone that he can speak to. And those that he does speak to defer to him because he is a prince. They don't bite back the way that Thorfinn does, because Thorfinn doesn't care that he's a prince. He doesn't respect that. It means nothing to him. They're the same age. So he's going to keep quipping back, and Canute's going to have to stand up for himself if he doesn't want to listen to Thorfinn's jibes. And that's exactly what he does. And I think in that moment, he understands the weight of his words as well. He knows that his words have political significance, and that's why he's so cautious in how he talks. He doesn't want to get himself into trouble. He doesn't want to get his father into trouble. He knows that the fate of his country essentially rests on his shoulders. He can't just agree to something without his father's go ahead, because he's not king. He's only a prince. He's not in that position of power to the same extent. So he doesn't want to essentially get in trouble or cause any political contention or issues. So I get why he's so cautious. I don't think he realizes how much power he actually holds. He thinks that he needs to defer to his father, but when he stands up and he's like ranting and speaking about how Thorfinn couldn't possibly understand the situation he's faced with and the implications that his words can have, and that's why it's not because he's scared, it's not because he's anxious, it's just he doesn't want to cause trouble, he doesn't want to cause an issue. He's not the same as Thorfinn. Their lives are very different from one another. So when he's standing up, all the men stop. They turn to look at him almost with shock but admiration. And even Ragnar's admiring the fact that this is the first person he's spoken to in a very long time and had the confidence to do so. So I think seeing the ability that his words can have on influencing and garnering respect is going to be good for him in the long run. He's going to realize that his authority shouldn't always just be deferred to his father. It's good to be aware and conscious, but not at the expense of almost being mollycoddled. And I love that analogy of the chick and the nest. That the whole purpose is preparing the chick to leave and be independent and stand on their own 2 feet, not to keep them coddled to the point that they depend on you for the rest of their lives. That's kind of what Ragnar is doing. He's not preparing the chick to stand up for himself. He's not pushing him from the nest, because some birds will do that. They will push their chicks from the nest, and it's, I mean, fly or die essentially at that point, but they don't push them until they are ready. But even then, they spend so much time and energy into preparing them for it so that they are independent. So Ragnar's attempts to protect the prince are actually hindering him. He's not preparing Canute for the responsibility of commanding men, of being respected and trusted. He's making him look weak because Canute hides behind him, uses him as his voice rather than speaking for himself. But as I said, I think we're going to see progression in Canute, in him coming to understand that he can be respected and powerful without having to sanction violence, without having to glorify in it, because we know that that's possible because Thors was that way. Thors was a strong warrior who committed acts of violence that began to abhor war, abhor violence, wanted to stray away from it, and found more passive ways of disarming people without taking their life. He began to understand the value of human life and why war was something that shouldn't be sanctioned or enjoyed, that no one is your enemy, essentially. And I think in that regards, Canute is going to be good for Thorfinn. That Canute could remind Thorfinn of some of the lessons that his father was attempting to teach him. That there are other ways to be a warrior without the use of a sword. This show, love it, love it. It's such a good show, and Askeladd grows on me more and more. I think Askeladd is probably one of my favorite characters. I just love the mystery behind him. I love his dynamic. I love the fact that he leans more into his Welsh heritage and culture than he does his Danish, despite being raised 14 years in Denmark. And I wonder if that is because of the way that he saw his mom being treated. Because he said that his mom was kept in the bedroom for too long, and then when she was sort of no more use, she was cast out into the shed and mistreated. And he obviously feels deeply for her because he wouldn't have brought her to Wales. He wouldn't have gone on this long, arduous journey to bring her to her homeland to fulfill her dying wish if he didn't absolutely adore and love his mother. And he speaks the language. He obviously speaks the language because his mother has taught him. And I wonder if it's because his mother has raised him to respect and admire and almost fantasize about his mother's home country, that she's sort of ingrained the idea into him of the legacy that he comes from, and that he is descended from a noble hero, a noble benevolent general, and that he needs to live up to their blood and needs to respect that. And that's why he puts more weight behind his Celtic origins than he does his Danish, which I love. By the way, I just love the fact that we see him as Danish for the majority of the first half of the series, and then we start to see him turning away almost from that, that he abhors the Danish side of him, that he is more in tune with the Celtic Welsh side of him because it's the link to his mother, it's the link to the heroic blood that he descends from, but also he probably grew up hearing tales of his descendants and the bloodline that he comes from, and respects and admires it so much that he wants to do whatever he can to protect that culture from English invasion. He wants Wales to be independent. He wants them to thrive. He doesn't want the English to conquer them. So I have a lot of love and admiration for him. And he just grows on me. Him and Thorfinn and the weird father-son adopted dynamic is just amazing. He really does care for that boy, even if he is the reason that he lost his dad and caused this trauma. And I can't wait to see how their dynamic continues to play out through the series. I am worried that we'll see Askeladd fall to Thorfinn at some point, but you know what would be even better is if Thorfinn never actually kills Askeladd, but Askeladd dies saving Thorfinn. Because I think in that moment, how could Thorfinn hate him? And it might cause Thorfinn to maybe rethink his mentality. That maybe he misunderstood who Askeladd actually was as a person. That Askeladd did a lot for him, protected him, strengthened him, also beat the shit out of him quite a few times, but there is some admiration there in the same way that he admired Thor's. He could have killed Thorfinn a long time ago, but he didn't. He's kept him around and he trusts him and he respects him and he admires him, doesn't allow anyone to talk shit about him. So yeah, I think that would be a really fascinating way that the story could go, is that he sacrifices himself for Thorfinn. And that would maybe force Thorfinn to reevaluate their whole dynamic. Because how could it not? The man that you hated all your life, that you swore revenge upon, that you only stuck around with in order to kill him, is the one that saves your life. That maybe you didn't understand him the way that you thought you did, that he was more complicated than you possibly could have imagined. But it could also then force him to realize that his journey into revenge isn't as straightforward as right or wrong, that there is moral complexity ingrained within this pursuit, but we will have to see how it plays out. Until next episode, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!